My son is in he's in camp. Took him to football camp, to high school. I picked him up. I didn't know in America we were still in the place where we're doing shirts and skins. Well, I saw a couple of kids in Trey's division that pulled that string of skins that didn't want to be skins. Like I could tell they couldn't even focus on the game because at every break they were covering up or something. Or they were... All right, we're in Chiefs OTAs. Still Chris Jones was like, I'm good. And
he was there today, right?
No, he wasn't there today, but he was there earlier this week.
No, he wasn't there.
He just didn't finish off the week.
He said, I'm cool, man. I'm out, dog. Show my face a little bit, but I'm out. And again, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, not sure what he's doing, but he's not out.
It doesn't matter, though, right, boys? Doesn't matter. Not important.
No, it doesn't matter. Not to me.
It matters for Kadarius Toney, who I think hasn't been there at all.
No, it doesn't matter for Kadarius. He's got a special place in Andy's heart for some reason. I don't know why. Andy let him walk out there with them damn flip-flops at the Super Bowl and just let him roll out there. So I don't know. I don't know if it really matters for him too. But I knew that I was going to be placed in moments like this when, I don't know, what was this, 2-3 years ago? Is this 3 seasons we've been doing this? I don't know how many seasons this is. I know
it started in 2021. So what is it? Yeah, year 3, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think this has got to be our 4th football season that we're covering.
Yeah. Once we get actual regular season, it'll be our
yeah. So and I knew I was going to be drugged to the table on certain conversations because, and then I think it helps the dynamic. Why so many people love us over here is there is a dynamic of BK, Serda, and myself. And
what would you say how would you describe that dynamic?
I would just say that, I'm probably a little bit more off the hip and emotional. And you BK, you got some numbers. You're ready to drag this thing into things that I have to be pushed into believing is important. Exhibit A right now. You are really hard up about the kickoff rules and how this is going to impact and how this is going to impact the season and potentially the Chiefs. And I could care less. I really could. I could care less about it. But you are hard up about the special teams and things. And I'm sure you're going to come back to this day and you're going to throw it in my face if the Chiefs ever have a game that comes and is decided because they did this on the kickoff rules and I don't give a rip about it. But I know for you, I don't know that I give a crap about anything that happened at OTA practice today. But you are into this damn kickoff thing.
All right, listen, first of all, it's not if but when it impacts a game. So let's clarify that. Second of all, I think the Chiefs are uniquely qualified to take advantage of the rules as they've been written.
Are you really starting with, I think the Chiefs are uniquely qualified?
Yeah. Hey, I might as well play into the bit, right? The Chiefs have a guy that played rugby for a living on the roster. That part one. Part two, they have a safety who tackles people for a living, who also happens to have this. When people ask him, hey, what's a skill that you have that people aren't aware of? He's like, hey, I'm really good at kicking the football. And people are like,
rugby? No. Who's played rugby?
Louis Reese-Zammit.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
He's
listed as a running back. We don't really know what he's going to do for the Chiefs yet, but he's an intriguing prospect.
Appears to be one of their kickoff returners right now. So between him and Justin Reid, who has the hidden talent of being an NFL kicker, which is much more interesting than most answers that you get in that exercise. They have guys that can actually tackle on a play where the kicker, according to the special teams coach, is going to be involved in a tackle 2 out of every 5 kickoffs. It feels important, man. Other teams are going to be out there having a dude in goggles who has never hit anybody in his life,
You
attempting to
absolutely
tackle
don't know that.
I do
not know that they're going to have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar out there in goggles returning kicks, or that kid from Little Giants who's from Kansas City who's got his helmet taken off of. Why aren't other teams going to approach this like the Chiefs will?
Because they don't have Justin Reid, dude. Like, that's what makes him uniquely qualified for this. They've got a safety that can kick. He actually kicked field goals in a game when the Chiefs didn't have their kicker available to them. So it is a really interesting spot, and I can't believe I'm saying this about a kickoff, but I am.
Yeah, you just said it's a really interesting spot. I want you to know this.
The way that the kickoffs are going to work now, you need your kicker to be able to tackle. Like, it's going to be really important for him to be able to tackle. And Justin Reid might be doing kickoff duty for the Chiefs. Meanwhile, you're going to have like random kicker X that you've never heard of that is 6'1" and weighs $175 soaking wet, trying to tackle like generic prints for other teams. That's not going to work super well, man. So I find it to be really interesting. I think the Chiefs are in a really good spot with it because they've got a special team coordinator that is arguably the best in the league. They've got one of the best coaching staffs in the league that is now going to treat this like a football play. And they have a guy in Justin Reid that is like the perfect player to have for this specific version of the kickoff. It matters. It's going to impact the game. And Ron, I can't wait to throw it in your face whenever it does.
So the Chiefs are screwed if Justin Reid pulls an injury of some sorts.
Listen, I'm not telling you that I'm all the way in on it, but I do find it really.
They're gonna have to put God's kicker back out there.
They have God's kicker. They got
Reese Zimmett is there for.
Stop it! Is he gonna make the team? Or are we sure?
Have you seen that guy? By the way,
he looks like
the
he's really
singular most handsome individual I've ever seen in my entire life.
He's got the accent going on, and he's fast and like explosive.
Ooh, so we got a penny dropper on our hands. I don't know that I've seen him. I don't know.
Oh, dude, look him up. Look him up.
Name?
Luis, Louis, spelled like Lewis. Reese, Rees, Zammit, Zammit. He went to Worlds of Fun and had a co-ed with him, and good for him, man.
Good for him. I gotta find this fella. I'm very comfortable with myself, and I know a good looking fellow when I see one. And
well, that's one of them.
At least I know what one looks. Ooh, I see him over here with Diana Rossini, and her cheeks are rosy.
Chill. Hey, we can't be doing that.
I'm just saying
she's in our business, man.
I'm just saying her cheeks were rosy. I'm just saying she was impressed. He is a good looking fella. He is. He's got an accent too. Yeah, he's got good hair.
Oh, it's a good accent too.
Forearm tattoos. That'll get it. Yeah. Seriously, how confident are you? Obviously, he's a good looking gentleman. How confident are you that he's going to make this team? Because you're really basing a lot of this on Justin Reid and this fella who you kicked it off with. Hey, he's played some rugby. We got a professional rugby player on the team.
I don't know if you heard, Ron. I don't know how many of these press conferences you're listening to during OTAs. I don't blame you, man. It's OTAs. But
I've read some of the transcripts.
Dave Toub said he's like working in with some of their number one kickoff return guys. Like you
think this will be Dave's one?
It might be, because he might be a kicker for him in the kickoff returner, and this year that might matter in a real way.
Maybe Dave gets 2 now with the importance now that
he might get like 5 this year. People are going to be really upset at the bottom of the roster. The tape grinders are going to be really upset when their favorite like 6th corner gets cut in favor of a rugby star.
There's somebody listening right now who is hitting their car, their steering wheel, hitting their desk. I have been talking about this. I've been talking about Louis. I've been talking about this with Justin Reid. This is going to be a factor.
I don't think he's going to be a factor, but I do think he's probably got a good chance of making the team. Like there's guys that were probably on the team last year that you're like, let's try to develop Louis Reese Zammit and see if he could be better than somebody that we had on the roster last year. But the kickoff thing, I I don't really care. I just want to see cool kickoffs again. Return touchdowns are the coolest play in football. Let's see return touchdowns. I'm in favor of it.
But you know what I don't want to see? Those against the Chiefs. And if you have a safety who can tackle, you're less likely to see those kickoff returns against the Chiefs.
Who's uniquely qualified.
Yeah, you get it. Ron's in. Ron, it took us 10 minutes, but Ron's in.
I'm not in. I tell you what, I am. I had no thoughts of the Chiefs kickoff until just now. Not any of that. But what I have been thinking about here with the latest, with Isaiah Buggs, who's turned himself in because he doesn't take care of dogs in Tuscaloosa, allegedly. Man, I want to be fair in how I treat the Chiefs and not just do this because this is my team. I want to be fair because I do this with a lot of teams when I'm looking at what I think they're going to do, how I feel about them. Teams that I like to avoid to think they're going to win big are teams that have a whole bunch of drama. Like teams that have drama. Like those years at the end, when we started to see Aaron Rodgers really become himself in Green Bay, and there was always drama, and there was drama with the coach, and there was drama with the new coach, and there was drama with Devontae Adams and who liked them. I just said, man, it's just always something that everybody's got to answer questions about. It's just too much drama. Like I felt that way with Dallas all the time. Jerry creates it. There's just a lot of drama with teams. The Patriots towards the end, there was a lot of drama. Now they may be the best team that's really been able to overcome it. But man, if you go watch that Dynasty documentary, it was hidden drama that we didn't know about. There's just certain teams where you're like, boy, this is just too much. Buffalo over the years with Sean McDermott and Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen, just too much drama. The Chiefs are right up against the, hey man, we got a lot of stuff going on. We got a lot of stuff that Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid have to answer questions about. We got a lot of stuff that, maybe Clark, if he comes to a podium, has to answer about. And it's starting to build. And they've got a variety of it. It's Neapolitan. They've got so many different flavors. We got your normal tried and true marijuana ones with, potentially your starting left tackle and another big person. And then you got, hey, how about a little animal cruelty in this thing that we're throwing in with the latest? You got a little political stuff in there with Harrison Butker. And I'm telling you, there's some people in that locker room who said, Harrison, thank you for speaking for us. And there's some other ones in there thinking, who in the hell is this dude? They're looking at him kind of funny. That's rolling around that people had to answer questions about and have drama about. And Patrick Mahomes had to lie and give answers to so he didn't make a teammate look bad. And then, of course, maybe the most serious one, you got drama that's actually going to take a guy that BK for like 3 or 4 weeks tried to argue was the number one talent, skill position player that the Chiefs had last year. And Rashee Rice, we know he ain't playing all 17. We don't even know how many games he's going to miss yet. And we don't know what he's going to do the rest of the way before he gets to the season. He's capable of luring people allegedly to the back of nightclubs and knocking them out. We don't know what he's going to do. And his is going to cause him to miss games. This is a lot of drama, and I'll throw it out to you and we can have the conversation. Is this beginning to become so much drama that it could be a potential issue? I'm not saying it is or not. I think there's a thought about it, but it is building right now.
So let me start with the Isaiah Buggs thing. I'm not trying to undersell what he did or what he is alleged to have done.
You better choose these words wisely.
Did you know Isaiah Buggs was on the Chiefs before you saw this report?
No, I didn't.
That is not something where what Isaiah Buggs does, I don't think is influencing whether or not I think there's quote unquote a lot going on with the Chiefs right now. His situation, it's hard to set aside because it's potentially a horrible one, but let's set that in a different category from some of these other things that are taking place. For guys that are like really important for the roster this year, potentially. Wanya Morris might legitimately start for you at left tackle this year. There's a real chance that he is your starting left tackle on opening night. I do not care that he got arrested for marijuana charges. It's stupid. He could have gone 20 minutes to the other side of the state line and everything he did was perfectly legal. So it's dumb, but I don't think that causes any drama whatsoever. I don't think that's something that even like really requires more than a meeting where the coaches say, hey man, just go to Missouri. Like, this is stupid. Just don't do this in the state of Kansas. The Rasheed stuff is really what we're talking about here. Like Rasheed being a bonehead and not being able to maintain his discipline of not going over 115 miles per hour on the highway, and then getting into a situation like 2 weeks later where you're at a nightclub, and whether or not you did do anything there with the photographer, it sure seems like this is one of those like wink, wink, nod, nod, let's all make this go away types of things, but we don't know. Either way, he appears to have been there. That's dumb, dude. And so like Rasheed is the one that is kind of causing the drama for the Chiefs. I just think this is a team that's had a lot of drama for a really long time now, man. This is how they operate, and it's different this time around. But Travis Kelce last year was dating the most famous woman in the world, and there were people that were wondering, is he motivated enough to play football right now?
That's a different type of drama, though.
Sure, absolutely.
I mean, that's more distraction kind of category.
And I didn't care about that either. The Chris Jones contract situation, where he's literally sitting in a suite at the home opener with his agents. That's a real distraction, where he sat out all of training camp and then wasn't ready for a couple of weeks. Go back, like if you want to get something that's closer to what we're dealing with now, remember the draft, what was this, 4 years ago, where the Tyreek Hill video comes out right beforehand and they're forced to take McCole Hardman as a result of that. Like, they ended up going on to win the Super Bowl that year. COVID was not this, where it's something that is going to divide the team either politically or with something that's happening off of the field criminally. But COVID was something that like could have been a massive distraction, a massive deal for the Chiefs. They've dealt with all of these things over the years. I think this is a coaching staff that does a really good job of keeping the stuff on the field and finding a way to keep everything going. So I'm not super worried about it. The one guy that I am concerned about is Rasheed Rice. That is the one that worries me.
So the Butker one, you don't think that's anything? I
think everybody inside of that locker room knew. I don't think his comments were a surprise to anybody in that locker room. I think there are probably people in the locker room that don't like him now because of it. And if it was somebody that wasn't a kicker, maybe that would be more of a problem within the locker room. But no, I don't think that's going to ultimately be a big deal for the team. No,
I don't like, as far as Butker goes, I don't think they talk about that kind of stuff like in the locker room all that much. They go out of their way not to most of the time, because they know everybody's got different beliefs and points of view and whatever. But it does feel like on this stuff, like, it feels like it's a lot this offseason, but then it's kind of like, yeah, I mean, every team kind of has to go through their ups and downs. And I agree with BK in saying that, like, the Chiefs have stuff every year. Like, Frank Clark gets arrested for no reason. Like that.
Just like forgot about that one.
Yeah, like, because there's been so many of them.
Willie Gay, the Willie Gay thing.
Let's get it together. Justin Ross had some issues off the field last season that, I think everything wound up being dropped and it wasn't like a big deal, but like this happens across the NFL. I think
this is coming hot and heavy, this is coming hot.
But what I think is interesting here between the Chiefs and like some of the other examples that we were talking about, like the Packers and the Patriots and like other like NFL, like, you know, top of the line, like NFL franchises. A lot of the times those teams were like at the end of the road, and it had already been after years and years of success. Like, the Chiefs had a ton of success, but they're nowhere near the end of the road of Patrick Mahomes. Like, maybe they are near the end of the road of this version of the Chiefs with Travis Kelce and Chris Jones, but they got Patrick Mahomes for a long time, and they've managed to overcome all of this stuff. No matter how much we break down games and say like this team just doesn't have it or whatever, or get convinced that like they're not going to win it all this year, they keep doing it and they keep figuring it out and proving that the regular season doesn't even really matter for them. So I'm at a point where I'm just not going to doubt them at all, even with all of the off the field trouble that they're having this offseason, because they seemingly overcome this kind of stuff every single year.
Yeah, listen, I think you guys are probably right if we don't start seeing more of it. Right? Like, I'm just saying the pace and the rate that this is starting to happen in this period of time, it's like if this continues, like this is getting out of hand. Here is my thing. Like I said, I think you guys are probably right because Rasheed is really the only thing that's kind of on the field. Like, the air, because I guess you can avoid a kicker, but I got like his is the only thing that's really on the field. My deal is and it kind of hit me when you were speaking there, Serda, is I look at like Golden State and I just feel like an accumulation of this drama. Maybe it wasn't that much one year, but just over the years of this, you could see it almost in the people who sometimes have to answer for it. Steve Kerr, Steph, for Draymond, for some of the stuff. Like you could tell it just kind of got old and it took a toll. And it was not just for what just happened then, but it was just happening over the years. And I just I feel like if it does keep happening, like at some point, like Patrick and Andy, especially like, God, dog, man, okay, Kareem was one thing. All right, Tyreek was one thing. Frank again. I got to be the one to answer these questions, all the time for these things. I'm getting tired of this. Guys, good God, my brother's enough. Like, God, just stop. Like, I'm tired of that. That's my thing is, and you could see it in like Steph's face, and he kept it together for the most part, but you could see the frustration of like, God, man, can we have these guys be grown-ups and stop doing stuff because the person that has to answer for it as much as you do is me. And I think you guys are right if this slows down, if we don't roll, something else. But if he has to keep coming out and dance around here and answer these questions and stuff like this, because Travis gets out of it. Travis doesn't even have to answer these questions, but Andy and Pat do. They got to answer about everybody. That's just, like I said, I think you guys are probably right because they have had years and years of experience of dealing with mess. But at some point, dealing with so much mess, you're over it. Especially when you're the one, when everybody's doing mess around you and you ain't the one doing mess.
I think the stuff that really, I would imagine, gets annoying and frustrating for them is more so like last year during the season when they just couldn't figure out the offense. Yes. You could feel that was the first time that I was like, ooh, it's getting to Pat. Like he's feeling this in a way that is different than what I've seen from him previously.
But BK, we had conversations then. I don't know that was just all we couldn't understand the offense. It feels like it was frustration over a lot, like mainly stuff on the field, but over a lot of stuff of like how in the hell are we here and we can't figure this stuff out, and we got people doing dumb stuff. Like, how are we here?
I think it was primarily the on-field stuff. Maybe there was some other stuff off the field. The last time before that I felt the team was just, there were bad vibes around it, was 2021. And that was the year they ended up losing in the playoffs to the Cincinnati Bengals. And I think we all, like, all year long that year, it just had a weird vibe to it. That was the year where they were turning the ball over left and right, like just bobbled passes. And that was the last year with Tyreek. And then they just completely overhauled the roster. Tyrann Mathieu wasn't the same guy defensively for them. He wasn't trying to make tackles anymore. Like, it was kind of a weird year. And they had that unbelievable game that'll be remembered for the Bills game. But overall, that was the one other season where there were kind of some weird vibes. But again, that goes back to, it was on-field stuff. Like, I think this team, when the vibes kind of get out of whack, it's on-field stuff that ends up being a problem more so than anything they've dealt with. And they've dealt with a lot by their own doing off of the field.
Yeah, we'll see. They got to like get a handle on this. Like, we got to start being like adults. It's not rolling into this.
Nothing I said, by the way, takes away from the fact of like, stop being stupid. Stop doing stupid stuff off of the field. If like, you could do that, it'd be really great for all of us.
Seriously, has Rashee Rice talked about Rashee Rice yet?
I don't think he's been made available yet.
No.
They're not putting him up at that podium anytime. They'll do it like once during training camp probably and keep it like 5 minutes and cut that thing off as fast as possible.
But Pat sure as hell has. Has Harrison had to talk about Harrison yet?
No. He hasn't been made available either.
They usually make him available a lot.
But like, Pat has. Well, not now. Well, they ain't gonna do it now. It's just wild. All right. More on the field stuff, BK. More on the field stuff with this team coming up, and we're in OTAs, and we obviously they made some moves with this team, and they have some great players, some Hall of Fame level players who are still in their prime. We know that they are the best in the league at quarterback. We know they're great there. What's the next best position group they have?
Man,
what's the next one they have outside of quarterback? I mean, when you put a Carson Wentz in there as well,
I'm excited about mine.
Carson Wentz. Oh, you have one? You're excited about it? Because I'm trying to think.
Now let me put a disclaimer on here, Serda. I think it's got to be like offensive line, pass catchers, running backs,
not just individual players,
linebackers, secondary.
I could have just gone secondary overall, but I'm going specifically with the safety room. Okay. Like I am legitimately excited for the group of safeties that the Chiefs have, and Justin Reid, a healthy Brian Cook, who has looked really good when he's been healthy, but he was hurt so much last season. Like we didn't really get a full look at him, and I feel like Chiefs fans kind of undervalued like how good he was and the amount of time that he played last season. And then Shamari Connor, rookie Jaden Hicks, like I'm really excited about that group of safeties. And I think Shamari Connor is going to be like the Swiss Army knife of the secondary. Like I think their safety room is as strong as it's like ever been heading into this season.
It might be the best safety room at least deepest safety room in the NFL. I'm not sure there's any team that'll have 4 better safeties overall than what the Chiefs have. If we're going like that, I think safety is the correct answer. If we're going defensive backs, I just have legitimate questions about the number 2 corner spot. It's not like I'm not super worried about it. I didn't love hearing today that Kelvin Joseph is getting starting options, but I'm also old enough to remember when Herb Miller was getting starting opportunities with the Chiefs.
But Herb was cold though.
So I don't want to go too far with that, but I would say the secondary is definitely one of them. I'll go with a different spot. What about defensive line? And the reason why I would go with defensive line is because I really liked what I heard earlier today from Steve Spagnuolo about Felix Anudike-Uzomah. I think he is the guy that controls the ceiling for this group. I think they're going to be really good with Chris Jones and George Karlaftis and Mike Dana and Charles Omenihu. Like that group alone right there, you're already in a really good spot. Feel pretty good about it. If Felix Anudike-Uzomah comes in this year and looks like a first-round defensive lineman, looks the part of a guy that can give you 7-8 sacks this year, it completely changes the outlook for that position group, man. Suddenly you're talking about 4 defensive ends that can all provide some pass rush for you, all of whom can be inside or outside at any time. They can run stunts up there. They can run games up there. So for me, that would be the group that I would point at other than safety that I feel the best about going into the year.
Yeah, I would have said D-line too. When you just like think about that crew of what they can do. Like Mike Dana is a solid player. Him and George on the other side. The only part about it is right now, Charles Omenihu is not available that we know of right now. And when he gets back, yes, that changes it because you become extremely versatile and you can do a lot of different things. And Derek Nottie, who I thought was missed down the stretch, has his role in stopping the run.
Mike Pennell back.
Everybody has roles. But the interesting thing is, like, I think we can go and look at certain teams around the league and say they have like multiple position groups where they're like good to great. Like the Niners have multiple ones. Like like the Niners receiving core, I think there's an argument that they are like good to great. Their running back room, good to great. Like their D line in certain spaces. Like
Go to your Texans, Ron. Like you
not
cover
my
them on a
Texans,
regular
but the
basis.
Texans, yes. Their receiving
The
core,
pass catchers are amazing, and their defensive line is fantastic.
their DNs are at least, yeah.
Yeah.
Their DNs, yeah.
I like Danico Autry.
Yeah, so I mean, there are teams. I don't know if the Chiefs are like great anywhere else other than quarterback. Like if you take everything together, I think Chris Jones is great.
Yeah.
I think my man, the corner whose name has just escaped my mind,
Trent McDuffie.
Trent McDuffie is great, right? I think Travis Kelce is great. I think Rashee Rice has the potential to be really, really good. But I don't know if I look at it and say, hey, those receivers, the complementary of the receivers, that's a great group. The running game, I think Pacheco is solid. I don't know that with Clyde that they're great. Secondary, maybe. The safety group is Serda said potentially. But even up front, like I think Mike Dana is really solid, but not great. I think George is
even
really
Karlaftis.
good.
He's just really good.
Really good, but not somebody where they can just carry it and roll with things. So
I think this has been the
interesting.
I think this is the lesson of the Chiefs, though, Ron. Like the lesson of the Chiefs that I think a lot of other teams should try to learn, and it's a hard one because it's incredibly difficult to draft as well as Brett Veach has, and to hit on as many like mid-tier free agents as he has in recent seasons. The lesson of this team over the last couple of seasons is just not to have significant holes. The Chiefs a couple of years ago, one of the things that got them beat was they just had too many holes. They weren't deep enough in certain areas. They had spots that were just like black holes defensively or on the offensive side of the ball, and they don't have that anymore. Now they're just, at worst, pretty good everywhere. Like every position group you can look at and you can say, we've got somebody that helps us with the floor there. We have somebody that helps us with the ceiling there. Yeah, there's a question there, but if we don't get it answered, we've got multiple different options that could take that spot on the roster. Like offensive line could absolutely be a strength this year for the Chiefs. Absolutely. I have no idea who their starting left tackle is as of today, though. Could be Wanye Morris. Could be Suamata Ia. It could be Donovan Smith, who's not currently on the roster. But no matter who the answer is there, I'm pretty confident they're going to at least be good there. There's not going to be a glaring weakness at left tackle. And I think that's the lesson of what this version of the Chiefs has been over the last 2 years.
And Serda, I think the missing thing that you don't see in that also is they're so great at quarterback. And then they're so great at coaching all the way across the board.
Oh.
Like Spags may be the best defensive coordinator in the league. Andy Reid is the best offensive mind in the league. Like in Charles Nagy, I don't know why I keep doing that. Matt Nagy, he's got his faults, but he did get Mitch Trubisky to 12 wins and a playoff. So that's a miracle. They've got minds in there that their coaching staff is such an advantage most weeks.
And I do think that's been the biggest deciding factor for them is like, and I think that's also like a change in philosophy of like Brett Veach, whereas like you think back to as far as like the John Dorsey days where it was like Dorsey was going to take like his guys. Like I think there's a lot more input now of like, this is the type of player that we want on this defense. This is the type of player we can deploy into this unit, and he can really provide some depth for us and do this for us. And then the coaching and everything they get out of them, like they, as well as any team in the NFL, they put guys in positions to succeed and don't oftentimes ask them to do more than they are capable of doing, which is what we see teams do across the league and what we have seen the Chiefs get caught doing in years past. Like, and that's why it's hard to even project a time where they're like not going to be good, because obviously like Chris Jones, Travis Kelce, like, their time's going to be up in the NFL at some point in the near future. But it's just that they've been so good at getting the most out of all of these guys and adding young players and depth across the board to where you enter every offseason with a lot of teams. Like the Bills just had to rebuild their entire roster basically this offseason after pushing all in for the last 2 years. And the Chiefs did that a few years ago, but they got a head start on it by trading away Tyreek Hill. And they've continued to do that for the last couple of seasons.
Yeah. No, it is interesting. Like when you look at this and how they are constructed, but you just can't put a price tag on what Spags can do with these guys and what Andy can do with these guys. Like their receiving core is better this year than it was last year. I don't know that it's great, but with the quarterback and the coach and the style in which they play, if they are healthy, like look out, right? And I
would also add, like your secondary, the reason why Serda, and I agree with you on this, Serda, the reason why we're so confident that they're going to be great is because we know Spags and Dave Merritt will maximize that talent. Like Justin Reid was a good player in Houston, a good one. He's become pretty close to a great one while he's been in Kansas City. And whatever Trent McDuffie's ceiling is, he's going to reach that in Kansas City. L'Jarius Sneed reached his ceiling in Kansas City, I believe, in large part, because of who was extracting that talent from him. And he used him in the exactly correct role all the way up until last year. We had questions on if he was even a good corner going into last season. And then he goes out and is like one of the best cover corners in the NFL, and they allow him to go with the number one receiver and shadow him. So I think that's a huge part of it. It's a really good point by you guys.
I know it. You didn't have to tell me that.
Don't sleep on Jalen Watson, Joshua Williams, Najee Johnson.
I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a little nervous about this second and third quarter. Not going to lie to you. Just me personally. I don't want to sleep on them, but I just know I'm going to have to just completely blow out last year and not think about what we saw from the cornerback position from last year. Understand, like you had 2 All-Pros.
Did you see what Dave Merritt said today?
Yeah, it said Michael Jordan didn't bounce. Okay, Dave. All right, man.
I love Dave.
I know. I love Dave. I'd say more of a, maybe Charles Barkley left. Maybe
I was gonna go with like a Kawhi, like a hipster best player.
I'm trying to stay in the same era that he was in. Maybe a Reggie Miller left. Let's not go.
Horace Grant.
Well, he's better than Horace Grant. Damn it.
Yeah, we'll see.
That's a L'Jarius Sneed. I mean, he's better than Horace Grant. Get out of here. We are out.